Who among us doesn't
Please
need to
remind
seek
us.
forgiveness?
Go ahead.
Which, as we know, is the Ram's reward.
Every year during the season, when I'm really being honest with myself, I am clear about the many ways in which I have fallen short. I see how I have fallen short as a partner, as a parent, as a friend, as a son, as a brother. I see it. I'm aware of the ways I've fallen short as a Jew, as a human being, and as a citizen. In fact, really, it's quite easy for me to be aware of ways in which I have not lived up to my high expectations for who I hope to be. And of course, if I look at the mass of these things, it's very easy to feel overwhelmed and frustrated and feel pretty lousy about myself. I know that I am trying really hard to be a good person, but it's difficult. Even under the best circumstances, it is not easy work being a human being. And so this season, it's really important, I know it is for me, to come into it both from the perspective of illuminating and owning up to the ways in which I have fallen short. But if I only do it from the perspective of Din, of judgment, then I find myself just feeling lousy without really a constructive way of moving forward. And one thing that I take great comfort in and find support in and really have welcomed it as a practice is that I look to the heart of these Yud Gimel Midot, these 13 attributes of God, which are recited in a central way throughout our High Holiday liturgy, starting during Slichot, appearing during the Torah service on Rosh Hashanah, when it's not Shabbat, and then certainly quite a lot during the Yom Kippur liturgy. And we recite these 13 attributes of God, which are described in the book of Exodus just after the episode of the golden calf. And Moses, after he shattered the first set of tablets and has a kind of a reconciliation with God and writes the second set of tablets, goes up to Sinai, and God really reveals God's self to Moses in this intimate way and gives these 13 attributes. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum V'Chanun, Erech Apayim V'Rav Chesed V'Emet, Notzer Chesed La'alafim, Nosei Avon V'Fesha V'Chata V'Nakeh. Adonai, Adonai, a God compassionate and gracious, slow to anger, abounding in kindness and faithfulness, extending kindness to the 1,000th generation, forgiving iniquity, transgression, and sin. And so, why? Why do we have these words in such a central place? And what kind of meaning can we draw from them? Again, in this context of entering into the season for the sake of growing as a human being in all the different ways in which we could grow. And what I look at when I look at these 13 attributes is my eye is drawn towards the middle because there's an important coupling. Many of the words in the 13 are describing compassion. But right there in the middle is this interesting pairing, V'Rav Chesed V'Emet, Chesed and Emet. And commentators have focused on these two terms that come up in other places in the Torah as a pair, and are emphasizing the way in which we really need both of these qualities. So if I'm only going to take the quality of emet, of truth, which we can relate to this quality of din as well, judgment, because when we look closely and are as honest as possible, in a sense, expressing emet, we see what's going on and we judge it. And so that is, of course, an essential part of this work. But, and the Gemara raises this point and says that, first we have this experience of din, emet, but then there's also this Rav Chesed, this abundant love. The quality of chesed it's more interesting than just saying love, actually. biblically it's linked with brit, with covenant. And it seems that chesed is a kind of like a covenantal love, meaning it's a love, it's a commitment to being affectionate and caring for that is covenantal, which I read as saying it's committed, it's bound. It's like the ideal of a parent's love for a child. The child comes with an issue, and the parent doesn't think, oh, do I feel like loving my child right now? Do I feel like being compassionate for my child? You just, you do it. You're bound to it. You're committed to orienting yourself towards the child, towards the world, towards oneself, with this quality of chesed, which is a committed kind of love. Meaning, it's not dependent on, did you earn it or not? It's really a kind of an expansive love. And so I find a lot of, I find that it's quite helpful to remember as we say these 13 attributes throughout these Yomim Noraim, that at the core of them is really a helpful tip in terms of how do I navigate my own work this season in a way that's actually going to help me grow. And of course, there needs to be emet, truth, right there at the center. But also, it has to be held in a partnership with chesed, rav chesed, an abundance of chesed. And I know that I also need to incline this chesed back towards myself. Because, again, it is tough work being a human being under the best of circumstances. And the past 6 months have been far from the best of circumstances. My wish to all of us is that we do deep work this season, that we shine lights into the dark places as an expression of emet, learning more and being as honest as we can about who we are, how we actually act in the world, how our actions impact others, but to also stay connected to the abundance of love, to an abundance of love that we can offer towards ourselves as we would offer towards another person who we feel love towards. Because when we hold ourselves or another, or when God holds us within that context of Rav Chesed, of a great, abound, an abundance of love, it changes everything. It supports our capacity for doing that important work of emet, of close, honest looking. It helps us do that work without that work taking over and leaving us powerless and overwhelmed. And so for the sake of really moving forward, I hope that we can find this balance of chesed and emet. And I hope it's a Shana Tova U'Mituka, a sweet and healthy year to you and yours.